Today's episode is going to feature NXT UK, where we have, of course, the NXT UK women's title being on the line, and the same thing goes for the NXT UK tag team titles. We even got out of nowhere, this was not part of the plan for this episode, AEW Dark Elevation, which only was about almost a 30-minute show, but it was pretty good, I have to say. The main event features Matt Sydal versus the newly sensation Daniel Garcia, who's now making a name for themselves. We even got Impact Wrestling, more of their go home show before their following day with, for tomorrow, Emergence, but also going to add in some past events by Yoshi Promotion Stardom in their Osaka event that took place late in March. Also going to throw in some news updates regarding Empower, Minoru Suzuki, and AEW. So, let's get started with another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jared here. So, let's begin with NXT UK. It opened up with the NXT UK women's title. We have Stevie Turner, who made her decision a couple weeks ago to challenge Meiko Satomura for the title. Now, as you know, Meiko Satomura has been looking for a challenger, not since she had to deal with Amel, who wanted a piece of the title, and of course, everybody in the locker room, including her protege, Amelia McKenzie. Now you probably ask me why Amelia McKenzie is her protege. Well, she was part of her promotion a long time ago, Sendai Girls, which she still runs even when she's in the UK. But this was a very interesting match. Stevie Turner was a capable wrestler, but however, she was nowhere near match the final boss. She should have known better not to mess with her until she put her out and she retained the NXT UK women's title. Next match, we got Saxon Huxley versus Eddie Dennis. Now, this thing took place a couple weeks ago. Saxon decided to piss Eddie Dennis off along with Symbiosis, T-Bone, and Primate, saying better luck next time. They didn't like it. But I don't know if it was a wise decision for Eddie Dennis to send Primate and T-Bone to the back while he was alone dealing with Saxon Huxley. Now, the match was very impressive. I would have assumed that somehow Eddie Dennis would have walked away from it, but Saxon, who didn't give up one way or the other, allowed himself to pick up an amazing victory without realizing that he was going to have a beatdown in the post-match by Symbiosis to send him a message. Now, do we think there's going to be a rivalry between them? I don't think so. I don't think there is going to be a rivalry between them because, this is mostly like, how do I say this? I don't know if he's a strong character to push for a storyline with Eddie Dennis and the rest of the Symbiosis. Now, as you know, next week we have 1 week to go where Ginny has to face Aoife Valkyrie while Joseph Connor's in the cage. She is trying to prove that she's a fraud. And that's always been her case because the reason she's accusing her for fraud was because she lost to Meiko Satomura. She thought that she was unbeaten and now she wants to prove it. Now they believe that Joseph Connors being in the cage doesn't mean nothing. That the result will still be the same, that Ginny will win in her favor. Now, we don't know that until we see the match. So I'm excited to see how it's going to happen. But I have that distinct feeling that Joseph Connors is going to get out of that damn cage out of nowhere. I don't know. Now, the next match we have is Isla Dawn versus Danny Luna. Now, this happened like right after when Flash Morgan Webster lost to Wolfgang. The rest of Subculture, Mark Andrews and Isla Dawn were trying to have a little moment, talk about how Webster did in his match. But out of nowhere, Isla Dawn showed up and started looking at Danny Luna. And the match was mostly like it was dominated by Isla Dawn. I have to say, she put up a hell of a performance. But I think the best part of the performance was when Isla Dawn tried to grab the hair of Danny Luna and pulled out a pluck of her hair, like she took a souvenir. But Danny Luna did not like that, and she put her out 1, 2, 3. And I don't think it mattered to Isla Dawn that she lost. At least she has a souvenir she can take home with her. Now it's kind of strange. Now I'm still trying to wrap my head. First it was Amelia McKenzie's watch, and now this. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's next? What collectible thing she's gonna have? I don't know, but this is gonna be very interesting. It's kind of like a little bit bizarre. Now, we all know what's happening in for NXT Takeover 30. They did a little prime time involving Walter and Dragunov Part 2. This is going to be one epic match. Now, we all can talk about the first one, but this is one of those matches like, okay, can Dragunov become the guy who defeats Walter? The answer to that question, we don't know. But if he does pull it off, it would be one of those moments where all others have failed to do that. I mean, you look at Pete Dunne, you look at Joe Coffey, Rampage Brown, and I'm trying to think of anybody who tried to dethrone Walter, but I don't think it was going to be anything compared. But this is going to be one hell of a match, and I can't wait to see it, which is going to take place this coming Sunday. Now, our main event is, of course, the NXT UK tag team title. We have Mustache Mountain, Trent Seven, and Tyler Bate taking on the champions, Pretty Deadly, Sam Stoker and Lewis Howley, I think that's his name. It was a good match. I think this is one of those matches where we see, okay, Pretty Deadly are now are incapable tag team, but however, the desperation kicked in when they realized they were nowhere near the match, but they used distractions to ensure they win. They used the belt on Tyler Bate to ensure they retain the titles. Now they claim they are the real deal, they are the future, and Mustache Mountain is a thing of the past. But there's always that old saying: you can say that you guys are the future, but what about those who will be ahead of you? Everything about that? Well, we'll find out in the upcoming NXT UK episode, but also don't forget to watch NXT Takeover 36, which is happening this coming Sunday. Okay, I originally wasn't planning on this, but I had to do it anyway. AEW just announced on Twitter they're going to throw in AEW Dark Elevation. I was surprised, but I had to do it regardless because I wasn't going to skip on this one. The opening match was Santana Ortiz versus Wharton Johnson and Zach Mason. It was a very interesting match. Now, I'm not going to say it's one of the best, but I think they're trying to build up more momentum for Santana Ortiz until the FTR comes back. We all know that one of them is currently injured. We don't know when he'll be back, but it's gonna be an epic. But it did give them a good W in order to build more momentum for themselves. The next match we have the Native Beast Nyla Rose taking on Steph MK of the MK Twins. Her sister Ashley was there. Now, I'm gonna tell you what happened in this part. I don't know if they were trying to pull off the Bella's switcheroo. If you guys remember this, when Nikki Bella and Brie Bella first appeared, something happened. Basically, they keep switching on people and no one couldn't tell. However, when they switched with Ashley, they noticed after the native beast put her on a base bomb that this is not Steph, it's Ashley. So she tracked her down and found out Steph was outside and decided to power bomb right on top of her after the match was over. Now, Vicky Guerrero put out a very interesting promo, upset the fact that somehow that Britt Baker remains as the women's champion due to the fact that her injury should have put her out and make sure to lose. And she feels that everybody is sick and tired of Britt Baker. Now, the fan base likes Britt Baker. We all know that. Many people probably might have thought right from the beginning she should have been champion from the start. But there were plans in the early times, but that's another conversation for another time. And something we already talked about in the early episodes, I think, about it. But we'll see what happens then. The next match, we have the return of Emi Sakura. Yes, folks, Emi Sakura is back. I am so excited to see her back. She was facing against Maddie Rankowski. Like, some of you can say to me, Emi Sakura is a really. I did talk about Got to Move previously in the last episode. I have to say she did pretty good. I think even Big Show himself said he never seen her in person when she wrestles, but learning stuff about it is now is a perfect opportunity for him to see her. And not to mention, he's a big Queens. He's also a Queens fan because we all know Emi Sakura's a big Freddie Mercury fan. So it did help her, and she really put her in a big time submission, forcing Maddie Rakowski to win. So I'm so from my understanding that she will be in the U.S. now with AEW for a year to 8 months. So that'll be like almost 20 months, I think. Yeah, 20 months. But we'll see how that goes. Um, don't know for sure if her companion Lulu's going to be in it, but we'll see what happens then. Now, Smart Mark and Jade Cargill are now in the laser focus against to have the next opponent for Jade Cargill, and that opponent is none other than Kiera Hogan. Now, I keep saying this, Kiera Hogan is not officially with AEW, but she is right now working with them, as part of their development wrestlers that they're trying to build up. And don't know how but this match will take place in Rampage. I'm kind of excited for that, but this is going to be fun. Next match, we got Private Party along with Matt Hardy taking on Will Ade and Edge Stone. Now, this match, you can say it goes in favor of Private Party when they applied the gin juice, and it was already over right from the moment it happened. So you can say, I don't need to go through it. You can guess Private Party won. Now, the main event is Daniel Garcia versus Matt Sydal. This match was unbelievably good. Now, I did not know who Daniel Garcia is, but I have to say he's very impressive. He's like one of those guys that is trying to make a name for themselves, proving that he can hang with the best. And he had a challenge against a guy who is not only good in the air, but also good as a ground specialist. And I was surprised that it was a big upset. But since beating Matt Sydal, he is now laser focused against the one man he wants to challenge. I'm talking about the purveyor of violence, Jon Moxley. Moxley made it clear, but it wouldn't surprise me if 2.0 shows up. But I know Eddie Kingston will be by his side or not. But we'll see what happens then. So let's get ready for tomorrow for Rampage, or should I say it's already Friday when I'll upload this video. Well, as you know, Impact Wrestling has a brand new Impact World Champion, and that person is Christian. Now, some people say, but isn't he with AEW? Yes, but his history with Impact Wrestling is unquestionable, and you cannot deny his history with them. This is a company that gave him an opportunity to become world champion. Unlike, WWE, they probably wouldn't see him as a champion. That is something common that we have noticed over the years. Now, it was Gia Miller along with Josh Matthew was about to throw a major announcement. They were interrupted by none other than Eddie Edwards and W. Morrissey. As you know, this rivalry between them is getting out of hand. W. Morrissey has been trying to claim that Eddie Edwards is a fraud, about respect and all this. And of course, he can't the fact that he lost to Eddie Edwards, like he believes this is not over yet. But however, Sami Callihan showed up to give him a helping hand. But I think he was dealing with this because, he's not gonna tolerate someone like Morrissey coming to his town and causing problems. But however, he wanted to start up the match, so he teamed up with Chris Sabin to take on Ace Austin along with Fulton and teaming with Moose. Now, all four of these individuals, Sabin, Callahan, Austin, and Moose, are the number one contenders that will face off at Emergence. Who will be the number one contender to face the Impact World Champion? And we all know at the same time we do have Christian Cage versus Brian Myers, but we'll get to that in a bit. But the match was pretty good. It was very reassurance. Now the real question is who could come out on top of it. I mean, there's a lot of factors in this. I know I personally would like to see Moose. But in the way this match ended, Chris Sabin stole Sami Callihan's moment. But as soon as the match was over, he pile drived them, saying, "Well, we are done, but there is no need to keep doing this." I think that was one thing that Christian should have known. But of course, that's what happened. Now, the Good Brothers have been in a good mood. As you know, they came up in a successful win against Moxley and Yuji Nagata. As you know, they pinned Yuji Nagata, one of a legendary wrestler down in New Japan. But however, they're still dealing with the whole thing with God, who showed up in their faces, start stirring things up. This is the last thing that Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows want. The reason they're into this mess was because they act like they're still in Bullet Club, but they're not. They're not officially with them, and not to mention, Tama will not tolerate the fact that Carl Anderson and Gallows sided with Kenny. But also, they cannot. The one thing that was really standing out was the match between Gallows and Dorian in a very interesting match. Two behemoths. Not to mention, they're blaming Violent by Design because they put themselves in a triple threat match, which was something they did not want, but it happened. But we'll see how that goes. Now, as you know, Sami Callihan, he made it perfectly clear what happened with Chris Sabin, but Eddie Edwards was trying to tell him, about what happened earlier. But, he said that he doesn't want to waste his time right now with Eddie Edwards because he has a lot of his mind, and one of his priorities at this point is to regain the Impact World title. Now, the next match we have Shera, accompanied by Rohit Raju, facing off against Matt Cardona, being accompanied by Chelsea Green. I have to say it was a really interesting match. Of course, you have to be careful with Rohit Raju, who's a real slide devil. But I think the best moment took place is when Chelsea Green pulled him down and bitch slapped him. Yep, it happened, and of course, what was his name? Cardona finished off Shera with radio silence, and 1, 2, 3, it's over. But it's now been confirmed that Rohit Raju will face Matt Cardona at Emergence this coming Saturday. I'm very excited to see how that match is going to go. Now, as you know, Madison Rayne is back. And you know what that means. The locker room talk is back. And of course, Schwinger is back to his old habits again, interrupting Madison Rayne. But her guest is All About Me host Tennille Dashwood and Caleb. And they're being all goody-goody. It's still unclear, what's the relationship, but we'll see where they're going to go with that as well. Now, during an interview, we had Josh Alexander, he is still trying to say he is still the top guy, which, of course, he doesn't mind that Christian beat Kenny. but he is still the guy who's the fighting champion. And of course, he's not afraid to admit, yes, I'm facing against a bigger opponent. So Jake something decided to go find Demore, get himself in a match, and show him what he is made of. However, Demore was being in discussions over a match with Caleb with the K, and of course, he put himself in the match because Scott Demore requested it. So he got himself in some really hot water to face off Jake something. Now, we just had, of course, the return of Christian, who is now the Impact Wrestling World Champion. And, of course, he was happy that he beat Kenny and brought the title home to Impact Wrestling, of course, which is the company that took a chance with him years ago. And he's happy to do that. But, of course, there was one thing he needed to do before anything else. He decided that it was best to retire the TNT World Heavyweight title. He feels that it does not represent now what it is, so he wants to focus more on the Impact World title. Now, he's fully aware that he has an opponent coming up, but he decided to make an entrance of himself and all this and that. And of course, you know how Brian Myers acts. He thinks he's the most but Christian made a valid point. He is the best professional wrestler, which is true. So basically, this is going to be an interesting match. And not to mention, Christian Cage was not an idiot. He knew what Myers was planning, so it backfired. So he took out Beal instead. Now, we all know Melina is making her in-ring debut in Impact. Uh, on her way to the ring, she bumps into Trey Miguel. And Trey Miguel, I think he's a little bit shy, asked her, "Can you still do the splits?" And of course, she did that while she went to her match against Brandy Lauren, who had a different name during Impact, but that's a different story for another time. But it was very impressive how she put her in a very interesting submission right away. I'm like, I like how it ended. This is mostly like a warm up, but we're gonna see when Deonna Purrazzo will face her at NWA Empower. However, as soon as her victory was over, Deonna Purrazzo showed up and attacked her. And of course, that little sly devil, the drama king himself, Matt Renroll, shows up in giving her a helping hand. But Melina had backup, and that person is none other than Trey Miguel. And now it's confirmed for Emergence. We have Trey Miguel teaming with Melina, taking on Renwald and Pizarro, Diana Pizarro. So it's going to be an amazing match, and I can't wait to see it. Now, as you know, you remember John Schuyler, the man who defeated Matt Cardone. Now, he refused to admit that he did had help from Rohit Raju. He thinks he did it all by himself. We all know that wasn't true. But however, his little interview was interrupted when Juice Robinson was attacked. Now, David Finlay had no clue who attacked him. Now, there's only one person I can think of, and frankly, I don't think he's there, and that person is none other than Jay White and Chris Bay. But we'll see where they're going to go with that. Now, we get to a no disqualification match, Jake Something versus Caleb with the K. Caleb with the K has no clue what he was getting himself into, but he got murderized by Jake Something when he put him through a table. And of course, 1, 2, 3, it was over. But not until he got in a bit of a confrontment with the X Division champion, Josh Alexander, which he's going to face tomorrow. On Friday for on Emergence. Sorry, guys, so twisted. Anyway, but yeah, so I can't wait to see that. Now, Kimberly and Su Young showed up with a piece of Kara Hogan's hair, saying they obtained her soul, but Su Young is still not satisfied. So we don't know what is going on in her head, but it's kind of interesting how it's going to go. Now, the main event, we had the Bohemians, Joe Dorian and Doc Gallows. Oh man, this match was so effing huge. I did not expect a whole lot. Now, there was the big moment where Gallows powerbombed Dorian right through the platform, and it bent down. Was this going to be called off? It turned out then they wanted to finish off. Gallows crawled his way back to the ring, and so did Dorian. But it did not end. There had to be a winner. That's what it happened. And Dorian became that guy who won. Somehow he said he's the unbeatable monster that you cannot put down. But what does this mean for this match for Violent by Design? Does this mean that they will regain the Impact World Tag Team titles from the Good Brothers? Does the Good Brothers have what it takes to retain the titles now that this match is set? Well, we'll find out at Emergence because they're going to be facing not only Violent by Design but also Swan and Mac. Okay, the last thing I'm going to review is, of course, my number one favorite Yoshi promotion based out of Japan, Stardom. So this event is two events in the same day. Is down in Osaka, which they did one in the afternoon and the evening on the 28th of March. So keep in mind, I'm going to combine them both because there's no point to separate them. But stay with me because don't get lost. And like I said, I'm a bit behind with the Stardom stuff, so I'm trying to catch up as much as possible. So we're starting with the afternoon show. First match was a three-way match. We have, of course, Lady C versus Momo Watanabe and Tsurui. Now, this was one of those matches that was very interesting. I know that Momo and Lady C have faced off time and time again. This was the first time Tsurui actually gets to know Lady C from then. Now, recently, if you guys know this or not, Lady C has been teaming with members of DDM. There is a possibility she could join them, but we'll see what happens then. But it was a pretty good match, but however, you cannot deny the capability of Tsurui, who is an amazing striker, one of the best ones they got alongside with Konami, who they known each other for a long time. But Tsurui, you cannot deny when she put Lady C in some sort of an armbar submission, forcing her to tap out. So Tsurui is one of the best, and that's what I like about her. Next match, we have a tag team match. We have Konami and B Priestley taking on stars Saya Ida and Mayu Iwatani. Now, this is one of those matches that had no build-up stories, but however, as you know, there's a war going on between both Odatai and stars. Now, as you know, the B Priestley and Konami are two of the members of Odatai that don't need to cheat because they solely rely on their abilities. Konami, much like Tsurui, is one of the most uh, talk about strikers, and of course a submissionless demon that you don't want to be crosshair. As for B Priestley, that's why she's known as the top gaijin. She's the best that she is, and no one can stop her. And that's exactly what they did when they beat Stars to this match. So their combination always works, but they don't need help from either of the other girls, from Natsuko Tora, Kashima, or Ruka. Now, the next two matches are part of the top unit trios tournament. This is the first round. First match, we have Queen's Quest, consistent of Saya Kimatani, Azumi, and Utami Hayashida taking on the Cosmic Angels, the current Artists of Stardom champions, with the titles not being on the line. Unagi Sayaka, Mina Shirakawa, and Tam Nakano. This match was another one where they not too long ago they faced off against um, Queen's Quest, but the only difference is the last time they had Momo Watanabe. This time they have Utami, who was in this position. But I did not think for a second that somehow um, they were gonna pull off a win in this match because Utami is one of the best wrestlers right now in the world, especially in women's wrestling, and that's what made it so different. But however, Cosmic Angels were able to pull off when Tam Nakano put Azami in a Tiger Suplex, and 1, 2, 3, it is over from there. Now the next match with the top unit trios tournament first round, we have Oda Tai Nuts Ruka, Saki Kashima, and of course Natsuka Tora, taking on Donna Demondo, or as we call them DDM, consistent of Julia, Himeka, and Micah. Now keep in mind, in this match, the Julia feels like there's a conspiracy here, and in a Yokohama Dream Cinderella event in spring, she and Sudi are next to face off against Himeka and Micah, who were at the time were the Goddesses of Stardom champions, which is the tag team titles. Um, Basically, even that's what it was. But however, they decided to be in this match. However, they did not come up with the victory. As you know, there's always the cheating side and the cheating side of Odatai that helps them wins the matches, and that's what makes them a lot more different than anybody. Like I said, Konomi and B Priestley doesn't need help, but these guys do. Natsuko, Kashima, and of course, uh, what's his name, Ruka. So they won this match. So we'll see what happens in the afternoon. So, and then we got the main event, which was for the High Speed Championship. Now, if you guys aren't familiarized, High Speed is a fast-paced wrestlers, and this one is Starlight Kid and of course Natsupoi. Now, Natsupoi won this title back in the All-Star Dream Cinderella event against Azumi. This was in Nippon Budokan, but this time Starlight Kid is obsessed trying to obtain the title. Now, she has been the High Speed champion before, and of course, she Starlight Kid is one of the original members that brought High Speed and made it what it is. But however, she came up short in the match against Azumi, and she believes that she's obsessed with it, and she believes that she will no longer obtain this title. However, during her little post-match promo, she is set to face against Tam Nakano for the white belt, aka the Wonder of Stardom title, and that's what she's determined. And that will be the next one to talk about until the right timing. Now let's go to the evening show. We got Lady C taking on B Priestley. I don't need to tell you, B Priestley annihilated her completely. You probably would have guessed it. Lady C hasn't had a victory, a win since starting, but it just told the story. She's out for the count. The next match is an unbelievable three-way match. We got Konami, Momo Watanabe, and Starlight Kid. I have to say this is one of the best matches I've ever seen, and anything could have happened. I mean, I have to say I was thinking either Konami was going to win because, like I said, she's an amazing striker and submission. Momo, who's well recognized, the same thing with Starlight Kid. But however, the match ended in a time limit draw. I give that one a 10 out of 10. The next match, we have another tag team. We got, once again, stars Saida and Mayu Iwatani taking on DDM's Natsupoi and Sirui. I'm like, anything, this match, I feel like it turned out to be more of DDM's turf because, as you know, we got the high speed a competitor and a striker competitor. Perfect fit. I don't think Saida, she is more of a powerhouse type, even though for her size she's that strong. Mayu Iwatani, one of the most best wrestlers around. The even stars were no match for DDM, regardless of anything. So it was Sarui who pulled off the victory for everyone. No, it was Natsupoi who did it with the 1-2-3, and it was already over before anybody knows it. What happened? Now we get to the Top Unit Trios tournament match. This one is for third place between DDM's Julia, Himeka, and Micah taking on Queen's Quest, Saya Kamitani, Azumi, and Utami Hayashida. This match was also another good one. They were fighting for third place, but however, in this one, once again, we ended up with another time limit draw. Now, I feel like this is kind of weird to have two time limit draw matches in one night. I'm like, could they just ended with one winner at least? But it is what it is, and I just don't know. I feel like they could have just given them a winner. Now, the next match, which is the final for the Top of Unit Trios tournament, we have Odatai, Ruka, Saki Kashima and Natsuko Tora taking on the Cosmic Angels Unagi Sayaka, Mina Shirakawa, and Tam Nakano. This match was amazing because you are seeing who is the top, how do I say, the top unit in Stardom. Now, Odatai has been one of the most interesting factions ever since Natsuko Tora took the helm, ever since because Getsu left, and somehow they were able to pick up the victory. Somehow, Saki Kashima pulled up a fast one and allowed herself to win the match. However, Natsuko Tora has one thing in her mind right now is to reacquire the artist belts. Now, these belts, she and Saki Kashima, along with B Priestley, lost to the Cosmic Angels. They claimed, in their own words, that the Cosmic Angels do not value the titles, that they don't care for the titles. However, they do. The Cosmic Angels wanted to prove they are a top unit. They need to pay attention. Regardless what Natsuko Tora claims, she even demanded for a shot of the artist belt. And of course, Rossy Ogawa, who was the authority figure in Stardom, showed, okay, let's make it happen. But of course, Cosmic Angels are one of those factions that are not afraid of a challenge, regardless who it is. If it's members from Stars, DDM, Queen's Quest, and of course Oda Tai, they're willing to defend those titles regardless. And right now, they have proven time and time again. They're trying to reach right now in this current state, even though I'm behind. They are now almost trying to reach victory number 10, and they want to be that faction that gets to the top. Can they do it? Well, we're just going to keep on reviewing what we know that I missed, and you'll be the first ones to know. Okay, so here's some news updates for all of you. It's official now with AEW. I had a feeling they could have been signed, but it happened. 2.0, Matt Lee and Jeff Parker are now all elite. This is something that we need to talk about. Now, you're probably saying these, but they didn't have a good track record in WWE. That is true. But the problem is, AEW has made perfect clear they're looking for that they are making tag teams better than ever, and that's always been that case. As you know, there's been the lack of tag teams in WWE, but however, you cannot deny that the 2.0 deserves a break. Even though I have to say they're doing a far more better job than they are doing now than they did when they were in NXT. So we'll see what happens then. So I'm still determining how is the rankings for them. Now, news are coming in from NWA, so let's go with Empower. As you know, Empower are building up more talent they can recruit. The latest one they announced right now is none other than Diamante. Yes, folks, Diamante has been announced to be in it. Now, it's still unclear what she's going to do, if she's part of the NWA Women's Invitational Cup or anything. However, they actually announced for one for that, someone named Jamie Sinaga with Pollo de Mar. I don't know who that is, but that's pretty much it. Now, the next latest news, you guys probably saying, what the hell? Or if you know history, on NWA's 73rd, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, woo, is returning to NWA on the August of 29th. Now, some of you saying, why is he returned? Why has he been there before? Yes, he has been world champion in NWA before in the past, before his time with WWF when it was popular at the time. So I don't know what his role is in the NWA, but since he's no longer with WWE anymore, recently he made his appearance in AAA for the Andrade versus Kenny Omega match. You know, Andrade is his future son-in-law. It's still unclear what's gonna happen, but I'm very excited how this is gonna be turning out. Now, for all of you who are big time Minoru Suzuki fans, It's just been confirmed that Minoru Suzuki is returning to the United States for a couple of events with GCW. So here are the dates they announced. We have the 17th of September in LA, the 24th of September in New York City, the 10th of October in Atlantic City, and finally the 23rd of October in LA. So I'm excited to see Minoru Suzuki back because a lot of people love Minoru Suzuki. So if you guys never heard of him, or those who do, if you guys never heard of Minoru Suzuki, look him up in YouTube and you'll be surprised. And those who do know him, well, if you guys live in those areas in LA, New York, or Atlantic City, then you guys are gonna have a great time seeing Minoru Suzuki back in the States. The King has returned, and you all can say, Katsenen, that thing. I'm not good with the song, but that's it for the news updates for all of you. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed me reviewing these with, NXT UK, AEW Dark Elevation, Impact Wrestling, and Stardom. Right now, coming up, we have, of course, AEW Rampage, which I'm excited for. We got 205 Live and New Japan Strong with the start of Summer Struggle USA. Of course, there's the Impact Emergence, but I will throw in another Japanese promotion event, and that is, of course, Tokyo Yoshi Pro. So I'm going to put 5 events on this one. Hopefully, I can get it done all in one day because you probably say it's too much. It is, but if I'm unable to do Tokyo Yoshi Pro, then you guys know, and I will make that announcement in the start of the next episode. So I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu, so goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang!